everybody. We are back again. Football season is in full
Swing.
swing. We have already finished up week one of college football. We've had some exciting games. We've had some fun games.
Some upsets.
We've had we've had an upset or two. We've had a shocker or two also. But first of all, we need to just to quickly recap last week's games. We normally cover the top 15. We don't cover in order. We just slide down through the games as they come on. Sometimes we'll put Tennessee first, maybe, but we normally do put Tennessee first because we're Tennessee fans. But anyways, we'll go ahead and jump into last week's games, cover them really quick. We had Virginia at Tennessee. We always try to jump into Tennessee first. So we got Virginia at Tennessee.
And that game was Tennessee controlled it throughout. The defensive line looked excellent.
Tennessee's defense really shocked me. I mean, I knew they would be improved this week, but man, they looked fantastic. They were given Tennessee's offense started out just a little sluggish. They were just a tad bit off through about the first quarter.
The first quarter was a bit of a struggle.
It was a bit of a struggle offensively, which is fine. They were just finding their legs there, but in doing that left our defense in some tight situations on their own side of the field,
and they had to deal with that.
They stopped them every single time there. I mean, how many times did it start out 1st and 10 and end up 4th and 25? Or 4th and 15 or something.
Over and over again.
Our defense was vastly. It was strange. We were talking about a little bit. How many times does the Tennessee defense pick up the offense?
Not too many times. Not very much, honestly.
Man, the start of the game, Tennessee's defense just took over. I said our offense was a little bit sluggish, but that's just part of the start of the season. I think our offense did everything that they needed to do. We've got a super powerhouse stable of running backs. One got 13 rushes, one got 13 rushes, one got 12 rushes. We ended up with 52 rushes for the game. You know why? Virginia's defense was playing 6 in the box. They were playing with a light box. You have to run against a light box, and that's what we did. Our passing game
had some hiccups. It had plenty of hiccups. The Ramel Keaton drop was a little harsh, but
yeah, it was. He ended up with what, 201 passing yards,
and he had a couple of rushing scores on top of a couple of passing touchdowns.
I think that it would have been 270 to 200, to 300 passing yards if there would have been a couple more passes caught. And then he was a little high on a couple of passes, but really Milton looked fantastic. Our whole team really looked fantastic for the first game. They say that you improved the most between game 1
and the second game.
And game 2. So
the second game is probably easier than Virginia.
Yeah, it's going to be quite a bit easier. But we'll go ahead and jump past that so we don't spend too much time on it, because I could talk about Tennessee for the whole next 20 minutes of it. But anyways, we had East Carolina, Michigan. Michigan started out sluggish on their offense too.
But that's partially because Jim Harbaugh was suspended for the first 3 or 4 games.
He's suspended for the first 3, maybe 4 games. So they did their job. They beat East Carolina. Michigan is a running team. That's what they're probably going to be.
They run first primarily on the offensive side of the ball.
Their defense only gave up 3 points to the East Carolina, though, so they did their job too. We had number 15, Oregon. And, again, I think Oregon, we missed it last week, is probably ranked a little too low.
I'm going to stop you right there, because the beating that Oregon unleashed on Portland State.
Do you remember when we said, I don't know if I've ever said Portland State before. I'm not even sure who that is.
This is probably why.
They gave up 81 points. Ow. 81 points.
That's got to be an Oregon record.
81-7. That was an Oregon record for the first game of the year. That was their record.
Bring on the Ducks.
81-7. That was something.
There are beatdowns, sure. The normal 50 to 20 games, but this is a new dimension of beatdown.
Yeah, when you lose by 74 and it's not basketball, I don't know. That's pretty bad, yeah. We had Ohio State at Indiana. This was a little bit of a shocker.
Ohio
not a
State
shocker.
struggled.
They did. They struggled against Indiana. Now they have beat Indiana. How many years in a row now?
28 straight times.
20. Imagine losing. It's a new record. Is it a new FBS record for losing to the same team that many times in a row?
Indiana just can't keep their feet underneath them against the Buckeyes.
No, again, but Ohio State only scored 23. That was a little shocking to me. I thought
With all the talent they got.
they got a lot of talent. Aren't they starting a new quarterback too, though?
Yes, they are.
So there's a lot of teams this year, like Georgia and Alabama, Ohio State. There's others that are starting new quarterbacks, and it's actually showing a little bit. There's a little struggle getting the ball moving. But again, this is week 1. We want to see what comes up week 2. If you can go from scoring 23 in week 1 to scoring 53 in week 2, then you might have worked things out. But they were a little sluggish coming out. Washington was playing Boise State.
And, man, that was something else, wasn't it?
Washington started out super slow, too. They were losing, 19-17 at halftime?
Or like 9-7.
9-7 or something like that. And then they ended up...
It exploded in the second half.
Yeah, there was a couple teams that exploded in the second half this week. But Washington did what they were supposed to do. We had Rice at Texas. Texas was a little sluggish on their offense. Again, there's a lot of sluggish... And I didn't expect Texas offense to be really sluggish, though, because they do have an established offense. But they were a little slow starting out, too. But they beat Rice. Not super impressive, which means they didn't move in the polls. They sort of stayed where they are.
Pretty
but
stagnant performance, really, overall.
Yeah. We had Notre Dame with Tennessee State. Notre Dame continued. Notre Dame's looking really, really good through the first 2 games.
They beat down Navy the previous week, and now this week they took it to Tennessee State.
56-3. And
pretty much like they should. They
should.
They shouldn't lose to Tennessee State.
Or they shouldn't struggle against them either.
They shouldn't struggle against them either.
No. We had our number 1 Georgia Bulldogs playing UT Martin, and they were favored by 50 and only won by 41. There wasn't a line on it when we did our show. There was 0 line. So I was thinking about a 35-point game, and it ended up being a 41-point game. But the line was 50 at the game. 50 points. That's a big spread. But Georgia again did what they needed to do. They've got a new quarterback too, and he was.
They struggled pretty much throughout the first half, and then the second half they got it going.
And again, we want to see that jump from week 1 to week 2. So week 2 will straighten a lot of this stuff out. We had Nevada, USC. USC scored 66, beat them by 42, so they did their job.
Well,
Nevada's pretty bad. We knew Nevada was pretty bad.
Caleb Williams, everyone's favorite Heisman contending quarterback.
He is
leading the show.
He's a good quarterback. I don't think he was should have been the Heisman winner last year, but that's a totally different story. But he is a good quarterback. We had Middle Tennessee State, Alabama. Alabama started out a little slow too, but ended up putting 56 on them.
Well, their backup Jalen Milroe from last year comes back to bump my mic.
Yeah, go ahead.
Came back this year and had a good, efficient performance.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to be more of a running quarterback than he is a passing quarterback, but that's fine. He may do more passing as the time comes.
He had 3 passing touchdowns and 2 rushing, so I guess you call him a dual threat.
He only had like 13 completions the entire game, though, so it was timely passing. They pulled out the pass after the run. But again, they scored 56 points. We had West Virginia, Penn State. Penn State again.
Took care of West Virginia.
I expected them to score more than 38, but 38-15 is still a double-digit win. You're still up by 23.
James.
And we had 2 more of our top 15 teams. We had LSU, Florida State. I whiffed on this one. I thought LSU was the more proven team. Why did I trust
Brian Kelly?
Why did I trust Brian Kelly?
He was talking trash to Florida State.
Yeah, like 2 days before the game or something? We're going to go in there and kick their butt.
And we put the Uno reverse card in there because Florida State showed no mercy.
Florida State brought out the Uno reverse card. It was nip and tuck at halftime. You really didn't know who was going to win it.
Now, Mike Norvell outcoached him by a country mile in the second half.
Yeah.
By a country landslide.
Do I remember? Was LSU held scoreless? No,
Until the last drive.
Until the last drive, they had 7 points, and it was trash time. It was 45-17. So, anyways, and then our shocker of the week. We were, anybody watches this much know we will have a dumpster fire of the week. If there's somebody eligible that we think's a dumpster fire, we'll throw a dumpster fire of the week out there.
Feeling we know what it is.
We didn't have one this week
Until
the last game. My goodness, Duke beat Clemson by 21.
Let me tell you about Clemson's horrific, I mean garbage performance in the red zone.
What do you got? How many turnovers? I know there was a bunch of turnovers. You know that better than I do.
That's not just that. It's the field goals, too.
Yeah,
they missed 2 field goals from well within 30 yards.
Ew.
And they fumbled twice inside the 5.
Ew.
There's 4 scoring drives completely wasted there.
The only touchdown they scored was when Duke muffed a punt and gave them the ball at the 18.
If that would have happened, they didn't score.
Their touchdown scoring drive was 18 yards. That was their one and only scoring drive was 18 yards.
Now that leads
now
you
this
to
is
think,
this isn't Clemson taking on Georgia.
This is Duke.
This is Duke. Nothing against Duke. Duke won 9 games last year, and honestly, they shocked me a little bit last year, winning 9 games. But man,
Mike Elko is building a decent little team out there in Durham, North Carolina.
either Duke is way better than what we were thinking, or Clemson is our dumpster fire of the week. And I think Clemson's our dumpster fire of the week. That's a dumpster fire there, man.
Dabo's got some explaining to do.
Yeah, I don't think you can dabble speak your way out of this one. That's bad. But anyways, that's our recap of week 1. Let's jump into our picks for week 2. We always start out with Tennessee.
And then they got Austin
Tennessee.
P.
They're playing Austin P this week. Tennessee jumped up to number 9. They went from number 12 to number 9. The pollsters were impressed a little bit with what Tennessee did too. I know the fans get a little worried. When I was sitting there, we went to the game. That was hot.
I got burnt.
My goodness, that was. But anyways, we went to the game, and it's bad when your team is so good and you expect so much from your team that 49 points is not good enough. I mean, do you mean they didn't get a touchdown every drive? But it's easy to get that way with a Tennessee fan because we want so much, we expect so much, and also our team is that good. But it's early. They're playing Austin P right now. I expect them to put up 60 on them. 60
at least.
They will put up 60 on Austin P. Yeah. So I'm expecting at the minimum a 40-point win. There's not a spread on it, but I think it's 62 to 17 or something, and that's only if we put in our backups in the second half, and they maybe get a touchdown or 2 from that point.
And
I expect, now this will be exciting to Tennessee fans. I expect an entire half of Nico.
An entire half.
Half. Third quarter, fourth quarter, Nico. First quarter, second quarter, Milton. We're up 37-6 or something, and then the second half, Nico comes in. And that's the one thing. That's why I'm expecting 60. How many times did Milton come in last year and Heupel dialed back the offense? He didn't. He brought Milton in, and Milton went in there and threw 40, 50-yard bombs. So I don't think he's going to dial back for Nico either. I think it's going to be a good, exciting game, front and half, and I do expect a whole half from Nico. We got Georgia's daunting, tough schedule continues as they take on Ball State.
Ball State.
Yeah.
I have never heard of such an intimidating opponent in my entire life.
That's one of their strongest opponents this year.
Ball State.
Yeah.
I can't even laugh at that.
Kentucky played Ball State last week and beat them by 30.
How much is Georgia going to do?
The line's 42, and I'm really thinking about probably saying, Georgia's probably going to, if Georgia makes the jump that they should vastly improve into this game. And if Kentucky could beat Ball State by 30, I think Georgia can beat them by 42. Sad to say, but I think so. We got Youngstown State, as I trip over myself, at Ohio State.
So I think the Buckeyes should win this game, definitely.
I definitely think they will win
They're
this
in a
game
different
too.
stratosphere than Youngstown State.
Yeah. And again, Ohio State struggled with their offense in
Against Indiana. It
week
was
one.
a conference opponent.
Yeah, but again, until Georgia or Ohio State or somebody struggles into week 2, I'm not going to count them out, because you can score 23 in the first week and score 53 in the second week if you see what you fix a little this, cross the T, dot a I here and there. So I do expect Ohio State to win pretty handily. There's not a line on that one either. And there's not a line on this one either. We got Delaware at Penn State.
Big game, James.
Big game, James. He normally starts out really, really hot, so I expect him to win by 30 points on this one also.
Big game, James.
Yeah, this is one of the interesting games of the week. We got Notre Dame at NC State.
That's at least a tougher opponent than what Notre Dame's had to deal with the
Yeah,
last 2 weeks.
yeah. NC State's not a bad team. They went to UConn last week and beat UConn at UConn by 10, but UConn's not a powerhouse.
They've never really been. They're bad basketball.
So I'm not giving NC State, huge props, but they went and they handled business on the road at UConn by 10 points last week. But I do pick Notre Dame. Notre Dame's favored by 7.5. Notre Dame has won by 30, 40 points the first couple of weeks. So until Notre Dame trips on themselves, which is normally the second half of the season, the first half of the season, they're normally pretty good. So I say that they cover that 7.5 point spread. We got Utah at Baylor.
Baylor was garbage in week 1. We didn't talk about them, but they lost to Texas State.
Yeah, and they've got a lot of injuries. Quarterback maybe be out.
Utah should handle them pretty mightily.
That's what Utah's only favored by 8. So I'm scratching my head, going, "What did I miss?" Utah should beat them by double. This should be a double digit. I mean, 13 to 17 points is what I'm thinking. But hey,
Utah just got done drubbing the mediocre Florida Gator team, from what I saw.
oh my goodness, that probably should have been our dumpster fire last week. Was the Florida Gators? But no, Clemson's a dumpster fire. That was a bigger, fancier, bronze dumpster that caught on fire. The number 9 team in the country. Hey, a newbie to the top 15, Kansas State.
The longtime Kansas State Wildcats.
Yeah, Kansas State is not Kansas. Kansas State's normally have a pretty decent program. They're not a super powerhouse or anything. But I got respect for the team. I've always had respect for the team. I like the purple. But they play Troy, and
They should beat up on
They
Troy.
should beat Troy by 20 points, yeah. So I think the line's 16. We got UNLV, Michigan. UNLV is pretty bad.
And Michigan is pretty good.
Again, this is where the line gets a little dangerous with me. Michigan is favored by 37.5. I know Michigan's a running team, and I question
Which usually leads to bleeding the clock a lot.
And with a running clock now, you don't have as much time. So the 37.5, I honestly probably would not take. I still think Michigan wins by 30, but I don't know if they win by 38, to be honest. Now, we got Tulsa at Washington. Washington jumps up to number 8. Tulsa is not anywhere near their level also. We've got a lot of 30-point games starting out this season. We had a lot last week.
Will completely slice and dice
I
that
think
Tulsa defense.
the line's 34. I think Washington covers it. I think it's like 46 to 10 or maybe 56 to 10. Our game of the week, Texas, number 11, Texas. Again, Texas didn't wow anybody last week, so
here's their chance.
this is their chance to wow somebody. Last year they lost to Alabama 20-19 in Texas. This year they are in Alabama with a chance to jump into that top 10 with a solid here we are. I mean, this is a here we are game,
Is Texas back?
Is Texas back or is Texas not back?
Well, it just really depends on this game.
Alabama's never left. Last year they lost 2 games, which is, I mean, think about it. Last year they lost a couple games, and that's an aberration. You're like, is Alabama dead? They lost 2 games.
That should be.
That's what?
Some programs would die to have an 11-win season.
Every single year? I mean, how many 10, 11-win seasons have they rolled up to roll now? Like 17 or something?
They've rolled up like 14 in a row or something.
I was going to say,
crazy.
14 10-win seasons in a row. Most places would kill that. I mean, they've had what in the last 13 years they've had 5 national championships.
They've had 6
6.
in Nick Saban's whole team.
Yeah, I think it was since 2010 they've had 5, but I think they won one
In 2009.
in 2009. So yeah, 6.
Oddly enough, against Texas. So maybe
How about that
things are
swinging
coming
back
full
around there to
circle
the
here.
front? Yeah, coming back full circle. Alabama's favored by 7. I have to take Alabama, to be honest.
I think Alabama's got the experience with, Nick
Yeah.
Saban is Nick Saban, and as long as Nick Saban is Nick Saban,
He's still Nick Saban. Yeah.
he's still got an 860% winning percentage in
Yeah.
17 seasons.
Yeah, I don't think I still have to pick him, especially that they're at Alabama. Alabama's a hard place to go win for anybody. Texas didn't wow me against Rice last week, so and Alabama put up 56 with a quarterback they just said was their starter like 8 hours before the game. That's classic Nick Saban too. So we have to go with Alabama -7 on that one. Then we got Oregon jumped up to number 13 at Texas Tech.
Texas Tech just got off of losing to Wyoming.
Yeah, and Oregon's only favored by 6.5. I'm gonna eat that up.
The Ducks can put 81 on. That's ridiculous.
If they put 41 on Texas Tech, they'll win by double digits, and I think they win by double digits. Well, we got Grambling at LSU. It's just a little friendly in-state rivalry
it's
there.
a get better game for LSU.
They better get better, and they better get better fast. LSU fans won't take long to give him his suitcase pre-packed at his driveway.
Are you saying that's crazy? Are you saying he struggles against Grambling State?
No, I don't think that was against Grammy. No, I think this is a get better game, but they've lost their opening game for 3 years in a row now.
Both times to Florida State, so maybe
The last
Florida
two against
State
Florida
might
State.
have.
They lost their opening game the year before that too. So I don't know. LSU needs to get healthy now. I think LSU's got a good team.
It just depends on how Brian Kelly does, because we know how he can be at times.
I know. I think he can be a fantastic coach, and then I think he can struggle. I think I don't know. Honestly, I don't know what to think about him. We'll find out as they go through the SEC West. I thought at one point last year that he had lost the team, but then they turned it on at the end of the season and they looked good. That's what gave me that false hope this year. Like maybe they got it turned around a little bit.
And then they got a Noel Spear into the chest.
And then they gave up 27, 28 points
Maybe-
in the second half. They gave
Goodness.
28 points in the second half. That's not a good defense. We got Southern Miss at Florida State. Florida State's favored by 31. I'll take Florida State.
They are
Florida
rolling high after that win, and I think the Noles should roll over them.
Florida State is our positive shocker of the week. That was fantastic. They did everything
They looked like the Noles of Jimbo Fisher's past.
They did, yeah. They actually looked pretty good. So, he has come in and he's picked up the pieces and he's made a pretty good team.
It's took
And
him
the funny thing
4
about-
years.
Before Dion went to Colorado,
Yep.
he wanted to go to Florida State.
Yep, he
But
did.
Norvell got it. So, but Norvell has done fantastic.
In 4 years, I thought in the first 2 years, I thought that program was just dead and buried.
I thought that he was going to struggle coming out of it too, and he did the first year.
And then this third year, he showed promise with a 10-3 season.
And then this
ripping
year,
off 6 straight wins to end the year. Maybe we should have saw this coming.
maybe we should have saw it coming. Yeah, but LSU won the West. So, but anyways,
But Florida State, that's a team to look forward to.
keep your eye on Florida State. That's our probably strongest team of the week. That was the
most impressive.
That was the strongest win of the week. Yeah, our last top 15, Stanford at USC. Stanford is not very good this year. USC's favored by 30. I say they cover that 30 pretty easily. And just an honorable mention to Colorado. That was fantastic, man.
They had a good, solid performance in Dion's first year in his first season.
To go in and beat the number 17 ranked team that was in the national championship game the year before. Now the only
His
thing,
son Shahir Sanders threw for 5 touchdowns and 500 yards.
the only thing that I will say is don't crown him king yet, because
Hold the hype train. I
there-
know it's going around.
there was zero, and I'm saying zero film on what Colorado was. Nobody knew what they were. Nobody knew their players. Nobody knew how they were going to play together. There was no defense set to it. TCU went in blind and got caught. So, and Colorado's got to, play some USC, Oregon State's coming up. So it's going to be a little bit tougher. But bravo to go in and win that the first week. Bravo.
And Dion definitely was puffing his chest a little bit there
Oh,
at that.
Dion's Dion.
He's Deion
he's going
Sanders.
to.
He's prime time.
He's prime time. He's going to be prime time no matter what happens. So
I don't know how to do that little dance he does. Can you tell
I
me
would-
how to do that dance?
I would break my legs if I tried that. I'm way too old for that. But anyways, that is our college football for the week. Thank you everybody for stopping by and saying hi. Thanks again for SevereTV.com
For sponsoring our show.
for this beautiful set here, the Austin Sports Weekend set. So thanks again for stopping in. Thanks again for Autographs Plus for sponsoring us. They got two stores, one in Sevierville, one in Pigeon Forge. Be sure and stop by and check them out. Their website, I think, is www.apsevere.com. So be sure and check them out. But again, thanks again. We look forward to seeing you next week for more college.
See you next week.